So much speculation on suspensions for LSU football. That's why we called our guy, Hunt Palmer from the LSU Sports Radio Network.
Big insider here. He knows got all the info.
Going to give us the 411 of everybody who's missing tomorrow's action. I'm just kidding. There's all this speculation out on the road about what's happening. It wouldn't be an off season without this type of talk in LSU football. I mean, I've gone on radio shows, it seems, around the region, and this is the first question. There's a lot of smoke around LSU. What's going to happen? And look, I'm just going to say it's 2019. It kind of falls in line with what we dealt with the last couple off seasons.
You've got 85 scholarship guys. You've got 110 people on the team. They've had 8 months to do something wrong. I bet someone did something wrong. That's a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, for sure.
So they'll probably miss the first game. Do I know who it is? No. Have I asked anybody? No. I don't really care. If we were playing Alabama tomorrow, I might do a little more digging and care. It's Georgia Southern. Let's go play.
What do you care to see?
I think everything on defense is kind of distorted because you're playing a unique offense. So essentially the defense that you've put in that you're going to play from here on out doesn't really apply. Like, one of the things I want to see is what they do with the safeties. I know Delpit's out there, but where is he? What do they want to do with him? Yeah. Todd Harris is going to play. Jacoby Stevens is going to play. When do they use those guys, and where on the field do they put them? But do I learn that tomorrow against a triple option? Probably not. I mean, it seems more like a Jacoby Stevens kind of game because it's more around the line of scrimmage. So I think you'll probably see more of him. But do you see Caleb Vaughn and how athletic and agile he is when he's not able to get up the field and rush the passer because they're running the option? So much to the defense is distorted. So really, most of your takeaways are going to be on the offensive side of the ball. My biggest concern is the offensive line. They're going to just be bigger and better than Georgia Southern, so I don't know if I learned a ton there. But I will get a chance to see the young running backs and how explosive they look, what they look like in pads. And my hope is that one of those guys asserts themselves and becomes not a feature back, because that's not realistic in this offense. There's going to be too much spreading of the wealth, but a big-time contributor.
Newcomers, who are you looking forward to most?
You said it in the last segment, but Georgia Southern has the ball, 3rd and 8. They get 2 yards. Punter trots out there, and Stingley goes back. I mean, I'm so excited.
Think he scores a touchdown?
Possibly.
Would you put money on it?
No.
I'd like to see the odds of it.
I mean, you would get good odds, right? Because it's always less likely that you're going to return. What if I gave you like 3 to 1?
It would be much greater than it was last year.
Yeah, no, I remember growing up, and when I was a kid, I would always think, like, man, how are they going to replace Dominic Davis?
Bro,
and then Skylar Green shows up. It's like, how are you going to replace Skylar Green? Like,
even when they were terrible when we were growing up in Baton Rouge, and we were all paying attention to what was going on across the street in basketball, they were Eddie Kennison and Todd Kinchin were back there. I mean, Kinchin was one of the most electrifying players in the game, and LSU was terrible.
And then
football.
Last year, we just were bad at punt returns, and it just broke my heart. Like, get somebody back there that's going to make a play, and I think Stingley is that dude.
Well, at least he can catch it. He can catch it.
I can
LSU
catch it.
become a punt safe team. I mean, they've had guys that could change the scoreboard dating back to Dominic Davis, Kevin Falk, everybody in between. I mean, then you bring in Matthew, Jones, Peterson, Ollie.
You always leave my guy Trey White off the list. He had multiple touchdowns.
He didn't like Trey White.
I know he's sketchy. I know he's sketchy, but he had multiple returns for touchdowns.
I thought they had other guys in the roster that could have been better.
Oh my God!
I really did.
If you return multiple kicks for touchdowns,
Beckham,
oh
bro.
wow!
I mean,
oh wow!
His returns were against Kentucky.
He said, I think like one of them was like Tulane 2 or something. Either way, though, it's still hard to house call. We saw that last year. Derek Stingley, he'll have a good chance. He'll get one by the end of the year.
What if he does, though? What if he catches the first punt tomorrow, makes one move, and goes to the sideline?
The all-time what if was when Fournette went back for the opening kickoff against Wisconsin.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, God, if he scores a touchdown, like, I may die. And he got like to the 18-yard line. But, I'm looking forward to that.
He didn't play too well that night.
Now, I'm surprised that Clyde is still the kickoff returner when he's your feature running back. That's pretty rare. McFadden did it. Trent Richardson did it. And then his freshman year, Fournette did it at the end of the year. But usually your number one back is not that guy. And I keep looking around at guys, because that one you don't need anybody that can catch the ball. Like, that's easy, and then you just go run. So I'd have thought that, like, somebody like John Trey Kirkland or Kerry Vincent or somebody like that would go do it.
Talking to Hunt Palmer of the LSU Radio Network here on 104.5, 100.3, 94.7 ESPN. Hunt, you mentioned that offensive line maybe being down a couple of guys, or maybe not what you would want your ideal.
I didn't mention that, but
starting offensive line to be. I thought we kind of touched on it at the beginning. You're probably not going to be at full strength on your offensive line this weekend. I guess, do you expect that to change how they approach this game from like a game plan standpoint offensively?
I don't. I think they would have to if Texas was the opener, because you're just going against a different caliber athlete. Because Georgia Southern team's just outmanned, and so they were going to play a lot of offensive linemen anyway, and they'll continue to do that. A lot of guys are going to get reps tomorrow, and my thought is they should be good enough to go out there and block them. And I think we'll see that new offense and how much it helps out the offensive line. And when it thins out the numbers in the box, it gets the ball out of his hands quicker, all the things we've talked about for 6 months now, that'll probably happen tomorrow, and I think that's exciting.
Something we touched on in the last segment, Hunt, was Justin Jefferson. He's the number one receiver on this team. He has the most returning stats. The coaches have been effusive in their praise of him, and yet we never mention his name. I guess, like, why is that? And then, like, should we be talking about him more? Like, what do you think he's going to do this year production-wise?
Yeah, you should talk about him more. He's awesome. He runs great routes. He makes great catches. He's good after the catch. He's fast. He's been productive. It's not like we think this guy's going to be good. Like, I've just continued to bang the Jamar Chase drum. I think he's going to be a star. But Justin Jefferson already is. He's awesome. He was so clearly LSU's best receiver last year. He made huge plays in big games, and we don't talk about him enough.
Does he feel like a one? I'm asking both of you. Does he feel like a true number one?
See, I think maybe he doesn't, because, like Hunt's kind of touching on there, like, it feels like Chase's or Marshall's potential is higher because they're 5 stars. Physically, they're just studs, and he's coming from more like humble underdog roots.
It's a high school recruiting stars thing.
I think
Justin Jefferson was a throw-in to his class late. Yeah. No one even knew he committed and signed, and all of a sudden he showed up. So it's just when you get a guy like Leonard Fournette, or you get a receiver that comes in like Ruben Randall, guys that are just huge names in high school, they come down to the last day, and you got to get the guys, and you get them, and they come in, and they're productive. They're just guys you talk about. And when guys slip through the cracks and they're not as high profile, you just forget about them, and that's the case here.
Hey, Hunt, how do you feel about Thad Moss? Yeah.
I'll tell you this, like Hester and Richard Dixon, when they went out, we talked about this, but Hester and Richard Dixon, when they went out to the scrimmage, like that was like one of the first guys they mentioned.
And then Badara Traore, I'm like, what?
So,
that's good. We'll see Badara.
It's impressive to me that a guy that comes from Thad Moss's background wants to get in there and block, which doesn't get you on SportsCenter. I mean, you would think a guy that comes from that's like, I'm going to be a star. I've seen a star in my house, and but he wants to get in there and hit somebody, and does so. And then obviously he can catch the football and run a little bit. I think tight end was a bit of a concern back in July.
Yeah,
I'm not that concerned about it. They need to make sure they're not predictable by personnel. They don't throw it every time Sullivan's in there. They don't run it every time Moss is in there. They got to make sure that they're balanced in that respect. But those two guys Sullivan is ridiculous in person. There's just no way anyone can cover him.
Yeah.
He is all of 6'6". His arms are so long, and he can run and jump.
Well, and speaking of returning production, it's something I've talked about a lot this week, but Jefferson had 90-plus targets last year. Sullivan was second in that group with 43.
Wow, what a fall-off. What a stat.
No, it's unbelievable. I mean, Brody Miller wrote about it. Like, that is the second largest gap in the SEC to Kentucky. For reference, Alabama, between their 1 and 2, was like a 20-target difference. Georgia was a 6-target difference. Think about being a defensive coordinator, and you see that they target this guy 200% times more than the second guy. You know what it reminds me of?
Give me 2 here, everybody else play your spot.
It reminds me of the what Mike Leach talked about last year when he talked about true balance. He was like, true balance is not just run pass. Like, that's what everybody talks. That's not real. It's like, how much are you spreading the ball around? How much is each position group and each player producing? Because that's what makes you unpredictable. And last year, LSU was anything but. They were utterly predictable.
6:30 kickoff in Tiger Stadium. Put you guys on the air at 4:30 tomorrow.
4:30 between the Rams and the PMAC. Kuyon's Tiger One Village. Big fave. Brandon Taylor. Me. Can't wait. I'm so fired. I haven't felt like this in 4 years. I really haven't.
It's because that's what we were talking about a little while ago when I said we expect a lot of people to show up. It's because the team should be so good this year. Like, there's hope once again, like big time hope, real championship caliber hope.
Doesn't it go to Burrow? Is it why?
That's a huge part of it. But I mean, you got the whole defense back, the continuity, and the staff's there. It's just the whole thing's good. I'm so fired up. It's a bummer that we don't get a quote unquote good home game until like late October. But Look, I'm ready to go out there tomorrow. I can't wait.
And you peek ahead to next season's home schedule. I mean, I know that this season's here at school, but like next season, this time is gonna be really cool. All right, Hunt, tomorrow 4:30. Have a good season, man.
All right, guys. See y'all.
Hunt Palmer every Friday here on Off the Bench. We'll close out hour 1.